Here I am cleaning and separating all the cucumbers by size. So the ones going in here are the smaller ones. I'm making sure all the blooms are removed from the bottoms and that they are firm and can be pickled. These ones are the larger ones, and so I'm separating them by size. And these are the ones I'm going to cut into fourths later on. Okay, I have the materials here. I'm going to be using white distilled vinegar, canning pickling salt, and I'm going to cut the vinegar with water. So a basic recipe is 1 cup vinegar, 1 cup water, and a teaspoon and 1/4 of the pickling salt. But I'm going to use the entire bottle of the vinegar, which is equal to 16 cups, since I'm pickling quite a bit tonight. So I'll put this plus 16 cups of water in my pot on the stove, and then add the salt and bring it to a boil. Now, while this is heating up, we are going to prep the jars. So if you want to, feel free and peel your garlic. I've got mine pre-peeled just because I don't have the extra time to do it myself. So I'll take these all out of the bag and I'll show you. The next thing that I'm going to add is some fresh dill that I picked from the garden. I've already pre-washed it, so I'm just taking off sprigs. My mix already has dill seed in it, but I think the actual fresh gives it more kind of like a fragrance of dill when it's complete. Okay, so this is what the jars look like. I'm doing some small ones and some tall ones in the back. So some of these are going to be green bean, dilly beans is what they're called, and some of them are going to be pickles. And some of the pickles are going to be small, and some are going to be slices. So I'm using 2 different spice mixes that I put together. This one right here has the regular crushed red pepper flakes. So this is where I ordered, Spice & Corp is where I ordered all my spices. And if you really want it, I'll give you the recipe. And then here's the second one. And this one is almost exactly the same, except I'm using this instead of the regular pepper flakes. This one has like a more smoky smell to it. I'm pretty interested to see what it's going to taste like. It's supposed to be a little more spicy, so we'll see. Okay, so here's what the jars look like before the pickles and the beans go in. So this is the regular chili flakes, and this is the new pepper that I'm using. I did put extra pepper in a little over half of them because it makes it extra spicy. These are pretty much normal spice is what I call it. And I'm not so sure how hot this pepper is, so I don't want to overdo it and then have things that are just so hot that we can't eat them. So it's always good to test it out. Okay, just a reminder, I do 1 tablespoon. Okay, here's the completed jars. We've put 1 tablespoon in the small jar and 2 tablespoons in the bigger jar. I've added some extra red pepper flakes to some of them, and half of them are the regular, or a little over half is the regular, and then this section is the newer spice. So next is putting in pickles. Next is putting in the cucumber and the beans. Okay, so now I've gotten the jar stuffed. So I have done some sliced ones, and I really think that this is the best bang for your buck because you can really stuff them tight, and I think you can get more in there versus whole pickles, but people like whole pickles. So I'm also putting in a hot Anaheim pepper that we grew, and 2 of these small ones to pickle it for my husband. So only 3 jars of green beans. With the green beans, a good trick is to turn it on its side and stuff it, because you really want it to be super tight and packed so that it doesn't float up when you add the brine. So next section is getting the brine ready, and I will be showing you how to pour and all that fun stuff. Okay, so let's go over the equipment. Mine is very used, but that's fine. So the rest doesn't matter because the water's not going to get into the canning solution. So before you pour any of the pickling stuff inside, this has to be boiling, and this is your canning part. So what happens is this will come to a boil. It's almost there. See how it looks really clear? The salt has dissolved. We have the little tiny bubbles. Have it on low so it won't bubble over. So the best way, this is what I learned, the best way to make sure that you don't overcook your pickles and your beans is once you pour that liquid in there, you put on the top. So you can use whatever makes you happy. Here, ball, any one of these. So you pour it in, and so what I use is this handy dandy thing. So you pour it in. You want to leave about 1 inch. That's why most of the vegetables are lower. You want to leave that little part of the lid some airspace. It's not the end of the world if you don't, but it's more likely that you won't have a good seal. So what you do is you do this. I use a ladle. You pour it in till it gets up here, and so I count them out. I can get eight jars in the can in here. So each one gets a little lump around, and then one in the middle. So actually, no, I lied. 7. So I fill 7 of these up with the hot liquid from there. So you fill it up, and then you wipe the rim. To make sure there's no liquid on it, because it won't seal if it's not clean and dry. So that's another reason to use this. If you don't have it, it's not the end of the world. You just have to make sure you really wipe down. So you wipe it down, you put the top on, and then over here, so excuse my mess because, you know, I'm canning. So I boiled these earlier. So you put the top on, you put this on, and you hand tighten only, not so tight that you can't get it off. You just hand tight. And then you put those 7 in the boiling water for 15 minutes. So when I'm doing it, I'll have the camera on, but I want to make sure you understand that it's very important because then it has to go in there for 15 minutes, and you don't want it sitting here cooking that extra time because it has to come to a boil. And if you put all the liquid in beforehand, then you have to reheat it again, so you cooked it twice. So that's the best way to keep crisp pickles. Okay, it should be boiling. The pot should be boiling like this. So keep the top on, keep it hot, and we're going to start putting in the hot brine. So these are the 7 that I've chosen to do first. So normally, so I got all 7 in. You see all those bubbles? That's all the air that was trapped. It's coming out of it. So cover it and leave a little space so it doesn't boil over. I'm going to set my timer. Yeah, it really is 11 to 6 or in the evening. So timer 15, set. Okay. And when the timer goes off, I'll let you see what it looks like. Okay, here they are all done. I have 15 of the large jars and 10 of the small ones. So now, when you do this, you leave them alone for 24 hours. So no touching, no pushing down on the tops. You just leave them alone and let them rest. And in 24 hours, then you come and check to see if they have popped down. If they have not popped down, you can see how it's still a little, I just took these out, so it still has the little hump. In 24 hours, if that hump is still there, that means you need to put them in the fridge and you need to eat them sooner than later. Normally, I let them sit for at least 3 weeks before we eat them. But it will survive in the fridge if it doesn't close. So you can stick it in the fridge and let it sit there for 3 weeks and then open it and you'll be fine. So, thanks for making pickles with me.